Everyone says Bitcoin is untraceable, but for the Prince Group, it became a glass cage. The FBI didn't hack the blockchain. They used a digital flare to light up the entire network. If you think your digital vault is private, wait until you see how they caught a man with 127,000 bitcoins, $15 billion, vanished from the public eye only to reappear in the crosshairs of a federal badge. Just months ago, Chen Zi was the prince of crypto, a man who believed he had outsmarted the very concept of a central bank. He operated from a world of marble floors and encrypted servers far away from the reach of Western law. But in March 2026, the mirage evaporated. The largest asset seizure in human history didn't happen with a bank raid. It happened with a click. So, how does a team of agents track a ghost through a maze of 1 billion transactions? To understand the scale of this hunt, you have to look at the birthplace of the money, the Cambodian compounds. These weren't offices. They were industrial-scale operations for a scam known as pig butchering. Thousands of workers forced into silence, spending 18 hours a day building fake romances and fake trust with victims across the globe. The goal was simple: convince regular people to move their life savings into a guaranteed crypto platform, according to investigative filings. The Prince Group wasn't just stealing, they were vacuuming the wealth of the middle class. But stealing $15 billion is the easy part. The hard part is making it spendable. This is the friction point where the untraceable myth begins to bleed into reality. Chen Zhao used mixers and tumblers, complex algorithms designed to scramble the history of every coin. He believed that once a Bitcoin passed through his laundry, it was clean. He was wrong. The FBI's Virtual Assets Unit wasn't trying to break the encryption. They were playing a game of digital forensics. Think of the blockchain like a massive public glass ledger that never, ever forgets. Every transaction is a permanent footprint. You can wear different shoes, but the weight of the step is the same. The FBI didn't look for Chen Zi's name. They looked for the flow. They tracked the massive movement of coins from thousands of victim wallets into a single, centralized aggregation point. In the world of crypto, this is the digital flare. A signal so bright that even the darkness of the dark web couldn't hide it. Chen Zi's critical mistake was his own ego. He believed he was the system. He used the same high-speed server infrastructure for his legal ventures as he did for his $15 billion bust. In forensic accounting, we call this commingling. It's like a criminal using his getaway car to park in his own driveway. The FBI silently mapped every server connection, every IP address, and every digital signature for over 2 years. They weren't in a rush. They were waiting for the cash-out moment. Because Bitcoin is only valuable if you can eventually turn it into something real estate, private jets, or hard cash. To do that, you need an exit ramp, a crypto exchange that talks to the traditional banking system. The FBI had already placed silent alarms on every major exchange from Singapore to the Caymans. They weren't looking for a person. They were looking for a specific amount of poisoned Bitcoin to move. And then, in late 2025, a single wallet linked to a charity attempted to move $200 million. The alarms didn't just ring, they screamed. The FBI didn't move in immediately. They watched as that $200 million was split into 10,000 smaller transactions. But because they had the digital flare from the start, they could see through the scramble. The prince thought he was disappearing. In reality, he was just painting a neon trail straight to his door. Imagine the confidence of a man holding 127,000 bitcoins, thinking he is the richest person in the room, and then realizing that every single one of those coins is now a tracking device. The hunt was no longer about technology. It was about the cold, analytical patience of the hunter. The frozen screen in that exchange office was only the beginning of the end. The FBI didn't just stop the $200 million transfer. They used it as a digital flare to light up the entire $15 billion network. According to investigative filings, the Bureau's Virtual Assets Unit had spent years mapping the DNA of these specific bitcoins. They knew the signature of every stolen coin from the Cambodian compounds. Every time Chen Zi's team tried to move a single dollar, they found the doors locked. The FBI had successfully blacklisted every major wallet address associated with the Prince Group globally. Think of it like this. Imagine owning the largest treasure chest in human history, but every time you try to spend a single gold coin, the police are already standing at the counter. This is what forensic experts call the liquidity trap. You are a billionaire on paper, but a pauper in reality because your money has been poisoned by the law. To counter this, the Prince Group attempted a desperate move, known in the underground as a chain hop. They tried to swap their Bitcoin for smaller, more private coins like Monero. The goal was to vanish into the dark pools of the internet, where tracking becomes nearly impossible. But the FBI had anticipated this move months in advance. According to leaked memos, federal agents had already infiltrated the very mixer services the criminals were using to hide their tracks. They were sitting inside the software itself. The untraceable technology was actually feeding a live data stream directly to the Bureau's headquarters. The criminals weren't just being watched, they were being guided into a digital cul-de-sac. Imagine you are an investor who lost your life savings to a pig butchering scam. You've given up hope. But in a windowless room in DC, an agent is watching your stolen money move in real time. What would you do if you were Chen Zi? Your compounds are being monitored, your digital vaults are frozen, and your partners are starting to panic. The friction between the high-tech masterminds and the cold, patient agents was reaching a breaking point. The prince realized his Swiss vault had become a glass cage, but the FBI wasn't finished. They didn't just want to freeze the money, they wanted the private keys. In crypto, if you don't have the keys, you don't own the coins. According to court records, the Bureau launched a psychological operation. They allowed one small leak in the blacklist to remain open a single exit ramp in a remote offshore exchange. It was a baited hook. The Prince Group, desperate for liquidity to pay their private security and staff, took the bait. They moved $500 million into the open wallet. The moment the transfer hit the exchange, the FBI didn't just seize the coins, they seized the server. They now had the digital fingerprints of the entire leadership team. While Chen Zi was reportedly sipping expensive cognac in a safe house, his digital empire was being dismantled line by line. The untraceable legend was dying. This wasn't a chase of speed, it was a chase of stamina. The FBI knew that in the digital world, the person who moves first usually loses. They waited for the criminals to move. By the time the Prince Group realized the leak was a trap, it was too late. The FBI had already used the server access to map the physical locations of the money movers. The hunt was no longer just on the blockchain, it was moving to the front doors of the compounds. The digital mirage was evaporating, revealing the cold reality of federal law. As the agents prepared the final strike, the scale of the theft became clear. 127,271 bitcoins, enough to change the lives of every victim if the government could get them back. The next 48 hours would decide if this was the greatest recovery in history, or if $15 billion would be lost forever in a forgotten digital wallet. The bait had been taken, and the digital cage was now locked. While the Prince Group scrambled to figure out why their secret exit ramp had suddenly gone dark, the FBI was executing the final phase of Operation Ledger Sweep. This wasn't just about freezing accounts anymore. It was about the physical seizure of the world's largest digital hoard. On a cold Tuesday morning, coordinated raids began across multiple jurisdictions, from luxury villas in Dubai to the high-security compounds in Cambodia. According to official DOJ statements, the goal wasn't just the men. It was the hardware wallets. In the world of crypto, the person who physically holds the thumb drive holds the power. The FBI's tactical teams, working alongside international partners, didn't just break down doors. They targeted the server rooms first. They knew that if the prince had even 10 seconds, he could trigger a self-destruct command on the wallets. Imagine the tension in those compounds. Thousands of computers humming, billions of dollars flashing on screens, and the sound of helicopters overhead. What would you do if you realized your untraceable empire was being dismantled in real time? For many of the group's lower-level operators, the answer was simple. They surrendered and handed over the passwords. But the real battle was happening in the code. As federal forensic analysts plugged into the seized servers, they began the painstaking process of cracking the vault. According to court filings, the Prince Group had used multi-signature security. This meant no single person could move the $15 billion. You needed 3 different digital keys held by 3 different people. This was their ultimate insurance policy. They believed that if the FBI caught one of them, the money would remain locked forever, effectively holding the $15 billion hostage. But the FBI had a countermove. They used the data from the baited server to identify the 3 key holders. Within hours, all 3 were in custody in different parts of the world. Faced with the prospect of life in a federal penitentiary, the keys began to turn. One by one, the encrypted barriers fell. Think of it like a massive digital dam. Finally breaking, the 127,271 bitcoins began flowing out of the criminal wallets and into a single, government-controlled seizure wallet. Before we get to the final fallout and the fate of the victims, if you're finding this deep dive into the $15 billion crypto trap insightful, consider subscribing to the channel. We break down the world's most complex financial crimes so you can see the systems the wolves try to hide. Now, back to the collapse. The recovery was historic. Never before had so much wealth been clawed back from the digital abyss in such a short amount of time. But the victory was bitter for many. Even as the DOJ announced the seizure, the value of Bitcoin was fluctuating. $15 billion one day could be $12 billion the next. The government now faced a massive logistical nightmare. How do you return billions of dollars to thousands of victims scattered across the globe? According to investigative reports, many of the victims were everyday people who had lost their homes, their pensions, and their futures to the pig butchering scam. For them, the FBI versus the Prince wasn't a movie. It was a desperate hope for a second chance. The legal process for restitution is expected to take years. As for Chen Zi, the Prince of Crypto is now a man without a kingdom. According to reports, he is facing multiple counts of money laundering and wire fraud. His $15 billion shield didn't just fail, it became the very evidence that will likely put him behind bars for the rest of his life. The real-world lesson of the crypto trap is a cold one. The blockchain is not a hiding place, it is a permanent record. In the digital age, your footprints don't wash away, they wait. And eventually, the man with the badge and the patience will find them. The $15 billion is no longer a ghost, it's a ledger entry in a federal vault. And the untraceable legend is officially dead.